All they want is a vote. Prairie Village residents are overwhelmingly interested in voting on a proposed $30 million project to rebuild and renovate City Hall. The Sentinel wrote about this yesterday. Dave Trabert is here with the Kansas Policy Institute on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Dave, good morning. Take me through when you saw the polling that was, of course, conducted, that Prairie Village residents just want to vote on a $30 million City Hall project. What was your takeaway from that poll?
Well, good morning, Pete. First of all, it was no surprise that the vast majority of people want to vote. It's an important issue. It's a lot of money. A lot of people are saying, not just in Prairie Village, all around the state, that their property taxes are already too high. And so it makes perfect sense that they would want to vote. 85% of the survey respondents said there should be an election. Only 6% said there should not. And I think it was 66% said they would not be willing to pay higher property tax 68% not willing to pay higher property tax for this City Hall project.
So I agree. And obviously the folks who are wanting the vote are ones that I overwhelmingly agree with on a lot of the things happening there in Prairie Village. But where do you draw the line when it comes to, hey, we elect people to really any level of government to make these decisions, and the change that you want to see has to come from changing the elected representatives? Where do you draw that line in terms of what's appropriate and what's not when it comes to a vote of the people?
Well, that's a great question, Pete, and you certainly can't do it you can't have a vote of the people on every issue. But this is the biggest project in the city's history, probably. When you know there's controversy, you know that there are some people who are saying this is a problem, why would you not want to get public input? I mean, personally, I think the action of City Council compared to, knowing what we know, I'd say the majority of City Council knows the public does not want this, so they're not going to let them vote because they're going to do what they want. And that is not representative government.
You're right. But then how we always handle this is we go to the polls and we kick the people out that don't listen to their own constituents, right? Listen, I want to see them get a vote here, but it is a slippery slope to say, what do you vote on? What do you not vote on? Especially when the city council is saying here in part, hey, by the way, there is no tax increase for this, so there's no need for this to go to a vote. That's what they're alleging. Is that a wrong allegation?
Oh, of course it is. It's nonsense. You have to read very carefully what they put on their website. They said it will not cause an increase in the mill rate. Well, even if that's true, if your valuation of your house goes up, you're going to pay higher taxes. And they have to collect money to pay off the debt. So if you didn't take on the debt, then your taxes would be lower. Of course, there's going to be a tax increase. And this goes to just the overall deceptive nature of the city officials. They put on their website that 2/3 of the money is already in the budget. No, it's not. We asked them to show us where it says that, and the only response coming back was it just made no sense whatsoever. There is no cash flow analysis published with this, so that residents would understand if the allegations are correct. You want to be able to see when debt is going to be paid off. You want to see what the annual cash flow is. They won't show that. If they have it, they may not even have it, which is, I guess, even worse. There's just no reason to believe what city officials are putting out when you start just scratching the surface of the claims. So, even if they don't want to take a vote, there is no question that city officials know that this is a really controversial issue. Why not scale it back? Maybe talk about, go ask people, what is it you think really would be? This is not like your monthly issue that comes up. This is the biggest expenditure this city is going to face, and they are knowingly ignoring and defying public will.
Dave Trabert, Kansas Policy Institute. What is the justification for a $30 million city hall in Prairie Village outside of looking nice?
Well, there's all kinds of justifications on paper, but it doesn't need to be that much money. There's other options. The first question is, why do we need something new to begin with? I mean, there has to be justification for. There may be some very valid need for some modernization, but this is not a city that's growing.
I feel like it can't really grow. I mean, Prairie Village is kind of maxed out, right?
It is. So why do we need to grow government when the population is not growing?
I was going to say they can actually grow it up. I mean, that's what they want to do. They can only grow it in one direction, and that's up with multi-unit.
And they don't want to do that.
Well, I mean, the city council members do. The people of the town don't, but I think council members do.
Right. Yeah. So it's a sad situation. You know, you've got the majority of city council clearly understands that they're defying their voters, and they're just going to do what they want.
I want to get your take on this, Dave. This is a broader part of this conversation in Prairie Village, and we've talked about this. Municipalities getting fat, getting very frothy here the last few years. Of course, it's very prevalent across Johnson County. We are seeing now a record divide between the number of home sellers out there and home buyers. Buyers are sitting on the sidelines right now. Rates are too high. Home prices are, frankly, too high. And there are way more sellers than there are buyers. I'm not predicting some type of crash. I don't think that's fair to do right now. But if we enter a reset of the housing market here at some point in the next 12, 18, 24 months, whatever that looks like, and home prices come down, well, these municipalities that got really, really fat in the last few years on these home valuations skyrocketing, how will their budgets be impacted? What does that mean for the way that they have grown government over the last half decade in places like Overland Park and Olathe and all across Johnson County? What does that look like then at a time when people are dealing with record high interest rates, at least in recent memory, record high home prices, and record high property taxes? I mean, it's all coming to a head, and if they can't keep the charade up, something's going to crack, and it could get pretty ugly here.
That's a great observation, Pete. And I think the answer to your question is to look historically at what cities or counties have done. And in this case, you've seen the Prairie Village City Council just march forward with one big property tax increase after another. If they can't do it pretending to not do increases by taking in big valuation increases, they'll just raise the mill rate. I mean, you look at what Prairie Village has done since 1997, they've increased property tax revenue almost 4 times the combined rate of inflation and population. They'll just shift the variable from taking it from valuation to taking it from a mill increase. This is not a government that is very open with its citizens. We just yesterday received our reaction to our open records request for the city payroll, and that's going to be published later this week. So we're going to give people a chance to see how their tax dollars are being spent and let them make their own decisions.
And I just saw this. I'll leave you on this, Dave Trabert. Overland Park released its 2026 budget, and property tax revenue is up to $93 million. In 2018, it was at $52 million. I mean, they have nearly doubled that number in less than a decade in property tax revenues coming courtesy of or in the town of Overland Park. That's just nuts. $52 million in 2018, $93 million the proposed property tax revenue for 2026.
And they're sitting on tens of millions of dollars in cash reserves, which is money they've taken in but not spent. And that just goes to underscore my point about Prairie Village. government will continue to spend, and without regard to what the public wants or without regard to what is necessary to efficiently provide services. And that's why it's so important for the Kansas legislature to rein this in. Unfortunately, too many Democrats and Republicans in the Kansas legislature don't want to alienate their city officials because that might interfere with them getting reelected. We went into the 25 legislative session with Republicans in the House and Senate saying property tax reform is the number one issue. I mean, it was going to be steamrolled, and then nothing happened. And the reason nothing happened is that we had a lot of pushback from city and county officials and school officials. Don't hold us accountable. How dare you?
Yeah.
And they said, okay, never mind. We'll figure out a way to make sure this doesn't happen.
Dave Trabert, Kansas Policy Institute. Find the article on Prairie Village at the Sentinel. Dave, thank you so much, my man. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Pete. Have a good day.